Welcome, friends. I'm Chris. I'm from Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness. Welcome to Stability Meets Mobility. This is going to be our solar plexus chakra sequence tonight. What I think you'll need to be safe and to get the most out of your practice are a sticky mat and a nice spacious area in which to practice. And I would like for you to have at least one, but better, two yoga blocks. So pause your recording, roll out your mat, gather up your props, and then press play, and I'll meet you on your mat. All right, I'll have you start in a seated position and take a few minutes. We're going to be seated here for a while. So take a couple of, as much time as you need, maybe a couple of minutes, couple of moments, 3 or 4 breaths to find a seat that's going to be comfortable and sustainable for you. And we're going to open up with a reading from the Bhagavad Gita, but before we do that, before we start the reading, I'd like to invite you to join me in making the bija, the seed sound for Manipura, solar plexus chakra, which is Ram, R-A-M. So what I'll do, I'll cue for a cleansing breath first, and then 3 times, I'll cue you to inhale. As you exhale, make the sound Ram, as if you were making the Om sound, but the sound is Ram, R-A-M, for as long as you can. Get a nice deep breath. Maybe press into your seat, maybe find length along your spinal column. Exhale, open your mouth, let that breath go. And then again, 3 times, I'll cue for an inhale. You can choose to join me for a Ram, or you can choose not to Ram. Inhale. Ram. Inhale. Ram. Inhale. Ram. Now come into a natural breath, but you might choose to lengthen and extend your breath. And you can leave your eyes open for the reading. You can close them down with a soft gaze. So we're going to read the second half of chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita. And we hear tonight entirely from Krishna. The Blessed Lord said, "All right, Arjuna, I will tell you a few of my manifestations, the most glorious ones, for infinite are the forms in which I appear. I am the self, Arjuna, seated in the heart of all beings. I am the beginning and the lifespan of beings, and their end as well. Of the sky gods, I am Vishnu. Of the heavenly lights, the sun. Marichi, chief of the wind gods. Among stars, I am the moon. Of the Vedas, I am the hymns. Indra, among the gods. The mind among the 6 senses. The consciousness of all beings. Of the storm gods, I am Shiva. Of the demigods, Kubera. Agni, among the bright gods, and Muru, highest of mountains. Know, Arjuna, that among priests I am Brihaspati. Of generals, the war god Skanda. Of waters, I am the ocean. Of the great seers, I am Vrigu. Of words, the syllable Om. Of worship, I am the mantra. Of mountain chains, Himalaya. Of trees, the sacred fig. Of divine sages, Narada. Of the high celestial musicians, Chirarata. Of saints, the wise Kapila. Of horses, Uchishashvas, Indra's favorite, born of the sea foam. Of elephants, Indra's winged Airavata. Of men, I am the king. Of weapons, Indra's thunderbolts. Of cows, Kamaduk, the wish granter. Kandarpa, the god of love. The king of reptiles, Vasuku. Of divine snakes, I am Ananta. The cosmic serpent, Varuna. Among the gods of the ocean, of the blessed forefathers, I am Aryaman. Of the controllers, Yama. the god of death, of demons, the devout Prahlada, of things that compel, I am time, the king of mountains, the lion, Garuda among the birds, of purifiers, the wind, of warriors, I am Rama, of sea monsters, Makara, of rivers, the holy Ganges, of creations, the beginning and the end and the middle as well, Arjuna, of knowledge, knowledge of the self, of orators, I am the speech, of letters, the first one, A, I am imperishable time, the creator whose space is everywhere, death that devours all things, the source of all things to come. Of feminine powers, I am fame, wealth, speech, and memory, intelligence, loyalty, forgiveness. Of chants, I am the great Grihat. Of poetic meters, the Gayaritra. Of months, Margashirsha, the first month. Of seasons, flower lush spring. Of swindles, I am the dice game. The splendor of the high and mighty, determination and victory, the courage of all brave men. Of the Vrishi clan, I am Krishna. Of Pandavas, I'm Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vyasu. Of poets, the sublime Yushanas. Of punishers, I am the scepter, the astuteness of the great leaders, the silence of secret things, and I am the wisdom of the wise. I am the divine seed within all beings, Arjuna. Nothing inanimate or animate could exist for a moment without me. These are just a small number of my infinite manifestations. Were I to tell you more, there would be no end to the telling. Whatever in this world is excellent and grows with intelligence or beauty, be sure that it has as its source in a fragment of my divine splendor. But what need is there for all these details? Just know that I am, and that I support the whole universe with a single fragment of myself. And we'll pick up next week with chapter 11, the cosmic vision. Start to lengthen out your breath. Begin to engage your Ujjayi breath. And you can leave your right hand right in your lap for now if you like. Or bring your left hand, palm facing the sky, right in front of your chest, about the level of your solar plexus. Shift your gaze to your hand. And then as you inhale, start floating the palm of your left hand up toward the stars. Find an apparent pause at the top and flip your palm down toward the earth. As you exhale, follow it with your gaze. Bring your left hand down to solar plexus level. Inhale, flip your left palm up toward the stars. Lift it up toward the heavens. Exhale, flip your palm down toward earth. Return it down to your solar plexus level. Continue moving through this really gentle and simple movement at your own pace and to your own breath. So last month when we talked about sacral chakra, I talked about the flow of energy and the nadis, these energetic channels that run throughout the body, right? And it's thought in the Vedic sciences that there are a lot of these channels, like 72,000. But of those 72,000, there are 3 that are primary. So 2 of the primary start at the base of the spine. And they run up to the crown of the head, and they cross and intersect each other 7 times. The next time your left hand comes down to solar plexus level, find an apparent pause. Then release your left hand down to your lap. Bring your right hand in front of your solar plexus, palm facing the sky. Inhale, lift your right palm skyward, follow it with your gaze. Exhale, flip your palm down toward the earth, follow it down to solar plexus level. Just like the other side, continue moving through this at your own pace into the cadence of your own breath. Right, so the Ida starts on the left, and the Pingala or the Pingala, I've heard it pronounced both ways. I honestly don't know which way is correct. Starts on the right, and each time they cross, they create, they're the catalyst that creates this vortex of energy that we know and understand as the individual chakras, right? And when the flow of energy is balanced between the masculine and the feminine, the Pingala and the Ida, then it's thought that energy shoots up the central channel up along the spinal column to Sushumna. And this flow of energy from earth to heaven is the liberation flow. So we talked about that last month. What we didn't talk about is a flow of energy in the opposite direction, from heaven to earth. The next time your right hand comes down to solar plexus level, allow it to find an apparent pause, and then release your right hand down to your lap. If you've got a support under your seat, remove your support, press the sole of your right foot forward, lengthen your right leg, place the sole of your left foot on the mat, put a generous bend in your left knee, and step your left foot over your right knee. Now, left hand down by your left hip, but lots of options. You can cup that left knee with your right hand, your right inner elbow crease, or you can hook your right elbow on the outside of that left knee. On an inhale, find length along your spinal column. Exhale, rotate your hips to the right first, and then your heart to the left. All right, so this flow of energy from heaven to earth, from crown to root, this is called the manifestation flow. And this is the way that I understand it. The upper three chakras relate to more cognitive functions, right? So speech, subconscious mind, and conscious mind, right? But in order to create something new into the world, we have to create it in our mind with our cognitive ability. But the mind itself cannot just create something into the world. Release slightly out of the twist and walk both hands over to your right. Start walking your hands away from your body. You can even come down onto your right forearm. And I'd like you to just release your right rib cage down toward the earth. We're looking for a bit of a side body stretch here. This is mongoose pose. Right, so this concept from the upper three chakras descends down along the Sushumna, and it uses desire from the sacral chakra, which is one of the sacral chakra's qualities. But even desire and cognitive function alone can't bring it into the world. Then it has to come back up to the solar plexus chakra, the seat of our will. And that's what wills us to take this vision and express it out into the world. So that's the way that right now I understand the manifestation channel. Bring your hands under your shoulders, walk your hands back up, unwind your left leg, press the sole of your left foot forward, place your right foot on the earth with a generous bend in your right knee, step your right foot over your left, and then right hand down by your right hip. Any of those three options with that right knee. Inhale to find length in your spinal column. Exhale, rotate your hips to the left and your heart to the right. Well, we could look at these chakras also through the lens of the physical sciences, and especially for the lower three chakras, our connection to earth. That makes a lot of sense, right? So Manipura at the base of the spinal column, root chakra, is dense, firm, stable, secure, and masculine, right? So in the language of physical sciences, we would say that was matter. And then if we move up 2 or 3 inches, we come to Swadhisthana, the sacral chakra, which is soft, feminine, fluid, flowing, creative movement. Right? In the language of the physical sciences, that is literally movement. Release from your twist, walk your hands off to your left. Just start to walk your hands out away from your body. Maybe come down onto your left forearm. Let your left rib cage reach down for the earth. In physics, when we combine matter and movement, we get energy. And that's the nature of Manipura, the solar plexus chakra. This is the seat of our will. And our task is to make sure the element that's associated with solar plexus chakra is fire, right? So the fire, the inspiration, the drive, that makes sense as an element to me. It makes a lot of sense. And our task is to keep that fire lit at a sustainable level, but not to allow it to burn so much that it burns us out or burns the people around us. Walk your hands back under your shoulders, unwind your right leg, and then however you want to get there, make your way into a tabletop shape with your shoulders floating over your wrists, your hips floating over your knees. On an inhale, drop your belly down toward the earth. Lift your gaze forward. Drag the heels of your hands back toward your knees. Exhale, press into your hands, press into your shins, round through your shoulder blades. I'd like you to move through this 8 more times, but I'd like you to start to include some side-to-side lateral movements. So just as a visualization, I'd like you to visualize that you are a spatula that's been thrust into a nearly empty jar of peanut butter. And you've seen these jars of peanut butter. There's quite a lot of peanut butter in them, but it's sticky and viscous. And it's in the toughest places to reach in the jar. But your job as a spatula is to get every bit of the peanut butter out. So like any chakra, it can be balanced. Of course, it can be deficient or it can be excessive. And it's not that I've never met anyone who I thought the solar plexus chakra, it's not that I've never met anyone with a deficient solar plexus chakra. That's not it. But what I see much more often in our society are people who have a fairly unhealthy level of drive. Right? Our society kind of pushes us to make that fire burn hotter and hotter and hotter. Sometimes in a way that it really hurts us. Come back to neutral. Then on an inhale, tuck your toes under your feet. Exhale, press your hips up and back. Find the first down dog of your practice. Whatever small movements would warm your lower body, take those. So I'm going to pedal the feet out tonight. When we get up to the top edge of our mat and we start our sun salutations, we're going to do a Burmese Qigong. And because of the nature of the practice tonight, I'd like you to visualize and bring to mind something that at some point in your life took your power away. And we're going to cast that into the earth. Whatever took my power away, whatever took your power away, we don't need that anymore. So we're going to release it. And speaking of release your heels down to the earth. Flatten your palms out on the mat. Press your index knuckle and thumb firmly down. Relax your neck. And breathe. And inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or step to the top edge of your mat. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, press down into your feet. Sweep your arms up over your head. Exhale, slice your hands down into heart center. Take 3 or 4 breaths. Set a soft gaze at your fingertips. Set an intention for your practice. Your next inhale, reach your arms up over your head. Make a fist with your right hand. Grab your right thumb with your left hand. Bring to your mind that thing that at some point took your power away. Maybe walk your feet out to hip distance apart. On an inhale, lift whatever that thing is up toward the stars. Exhale, we're going to bend vigorously at the waist. We're going to cast our arms and cast that thing out into the earth. Make a ha sound. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Bring that thing to mind. Lift it up toward the heavens first. Exhale, cast it into the earth. Inhale, rise. One last time. Exhale, cast that thing into the earth. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Heel toe your feet back together again. Exhale, hinge into a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back into chair pose, Utkatasana. It's early in the practice, so it might be a higher chair. It might be supported with your hands on your thighs. Shift the weight into your heels. Draw your belly button towards your sternum. Any arm variation, hands on your thighs, hands at heart center, arms up over your head. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step your left leg back, bring your left hand down to the mat or to a block. Open your heart up to the right. Find a simple twist. Your right hand can stay right at your low back or hip, or you can float the fingers of your right hand up toward the stars. Inhale, lengthen along your spinal column. Exhale, rotate your hips to the left, heart maybe more to the right. Inhale right here. Exhale, release both hands down to the earth. Step back into high plank. Inhale in your high plank. Exhale, tap your knees down to the earth. Hands and arms stay shoulder width apart. Lower down to your belly. And then inhale, easy cobra. Leave your hands under your shoulders. Pull your hands back towards your waist. Tweeze your elbows towards your waist as well. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale in down dog. Exhale, step your left leg forward. Open your heart up to the right in a simple twist. 5 breaths this first time around. And then we'll start to speed things up a bit. When we transition, it'll be to a forward fold at the top edge of your mat. So inhale, shift your gaze down toward the toes on your left foot. Exhale, step your right leg forward to meet your left. Forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, press into your feet. Circle your arms up over your head. Exhale, chair pose. Inhale and chair. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step your right leg back. Open your heart up to the left. Simple twist. And then hands down to the mat, high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, knees up or down, lower down to your belly. Inhale, open your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale in your down dog. Exhale, step your right leg forward. Open your heart up to the right. Rise on your inhale. Exhale, find a forward fold at the top edge of your mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, chair pose. Inhale in chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, left leg back, simple twist. And then high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, lower down to your belly. Inhale, open your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale and down dog. Exhale, step your left leg forward. Simple twist. And then forward fold at the top edge of your mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, press into your feet, rise, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, sit back into chair pose. Inhale in chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, right leg back, simple twist. To high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, lower down to the earth. Inhale, open your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. From your down dog, draw in a life affirming breath. And then open your mouth, let that all go. Inhale. Exhale, step your right leg forward. Last simple twist of the practice. Open your heart up to the right on your inhale. Exhale, forward fold at the top edge of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose. We've been here a lot, so we're not going to stay long, but maybe a little bit lower. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. Inhale in high plank, rock forward on your toes, float your shoulders over your wrists. Exhale, knees up or down, low plank, chaturanga. Inhale, open your heart. I'm going to choose up dog here, floating my shoulders over my wrist, pressing the shoelace parts of my feet into the earth. Exhale, downward facing dog. On an inhale, lift your right heel up with the stars. Exhale, round forward, draw your right knee to your nose. Inhale, lengthen out to a three-legged dog. Exhale, your knee to your nose. Inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale, your knee to your nose, and then step forward into warrior one. Turn the legs on right away. Any arm variation. Breathe. Just check in with your body and notice if you're holding on to any muscular engagement anywhere you don't need it. If you don't, no problem, that's great. But often we've got something. Sometimes the flesh around our eyes or the muscles in our jaw. Sometimes it's the neck or shoulders. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth, high plank. And then down dog or flow through a vinyasa. The vinyasa would be a high plank to a low plank, any heart opener, and then eventually meeting in down dog. Inhale, lift your left heel up toward the stars. Exhale, round forward, draw your knee to your nose. Inhale, lengthen out to a three-legged dog. Exhale, your knee to your nose. Inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale, your knee to your nose. And then step forward into warrior one. Turn the legs on first, spreading the feet apart as if you were tearing your mat in two. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth, step back into high plank. And then chart your own course to downward facing dog, whatever that looks like for you tonight. Draw in another life-affirming breath. This time, hold it at the top. Sip in even more air. And then open your mouth, make that sound again. On an inhale, lift your right heel up toward the stars. Exhale, step it forward, rise up into crescent warrior with your right knee floating over your right ankle, the heel of your left foot lifted. Any arm variation. And then only if you want more sensation, put a bend in your left knee. We're going to have a fairly dynamic transition here in a moment. I'll tell you more about it as we get closer. So Manipura, solar plexus chakra, is fire element. Right? A fire needs three things to burn. Firefighters call this a fire triangle. It needs fuel, it needs oxygen, and it needs a source of heat. It needs a spark. Inhale, straighten your left leg. Exhale, slice your hands down into heart center. Inhale, find a little hinge forward at the hips. Exhale, revolve crescent warrior with that left elbow to the inside top or outside of the right thigh. Inhale, lengthen along your spinal column. Exhale, once again, rotate your hips back to the left, then open your heart to the right. All right, stay right here. We have 3 more breaths right here. When we transition, we're going to transition to a prayer twist with your right foot next to your left. So I'd like you to visualize that transition in your mind, create it in your mind. And then from your mind, what we're going to do, we're going to bring it down to the sacral chakra. And then the will of the solar plexus will allow us to express it into the world. Shift your gaze down toward the toes on your right foot. And then start to lift your left leg. Maybe hover it up, but step it gently forward next to your right. Take a peek down at the knees. The left knee's probably going to want to win the race, but drop back in line with the right. And then maybe shift your gaze out over your right shoulder. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Good job. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step back, or rather, forward fold. And then as you inhale, press into your feet. Sweep your arms all the way up over your head. Exhale, slice your hands down through heart center. Bring your hands down by your waist, palms face forward. Heel toe your feet out to hip distance apart. We're going to do what Anno Dei Judith calls making the sun. On an inhale breath, palms face out. Sweep your arms up over your head. Exhale, turn your hands palm down. Sweep your hands down toward the earth. Inhale, flip your palms, turn them out. Lift your arms up toward the stars as if the sun was rising through your arms. Exhale as if the sun was setting. Inhale as it rises. Exhale as it sets. And then find an apparent pause with your hands down by your waist, palms facing forward, heel toe your feet together. Inhale, sweep your arms up over your head. Exhale, hinge into a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. And then from high plank, you can press directly into down dog, or you can flow through a vinyasa at your own pace, to your own breath. On an inhale, lift your left heel up toward the stars. Exhale, step it forward, rise into crescent warrior. Right, that's it, friend. You're already in the pose. Only if you want more sensation, put a bend in your right knee. Right, so that fire triangle, the fire needs fuel, it needs oxygen, and it needs a source of heat or a spark. You take any one of those away, the fire goes out, it will not burn. So if we had a brush pile that we were burning and we wanted to be effective stewards of that fire, we wanted to make sure there was enough fuel to keep it burning at a healthy rate, but make sure it wasn't under control. We do a number of things before we ever lit a match. On an inhale, straighten your right leg. Exhale, slice your hands down into heart center. Inhale, find a little hinge forward at the hips. Exhale, revolved crescent warrior. So we'd have, for example, a hose, a garden hose. We'd have a shovel. If we spray water or throw dirt on the fire, it deprives it of both oxygen and heat. That's how that works. But we'd also take a rake and we'd scrape the soil around the brush pile down to bare mineral soil where there was nothing that could burn. Shift your gaze down toward the toes on your left foot. And then lift your right foot, hover it over the earth. Gently step it forward, prayer twist. And then square your knees first. And then maybe lift your gaze up over your left shoulder. And we probably also have other supplemental fuel close by, over the fire break, but close enough that we could drag it over to keep the fire burning at the level that we wanted. Inhale right here. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, slice your hands down through heart center, bring them down by your waist, palms facing forward. Heel toe your feet out to hip distance apart. Making the sun again. Turn your palms out to the outside. Inhale, allow the sun to rise through your arms. Exhale, allow it to set. Inhale, let it rise. Exhale, let it set. Inhale, let it rise. Exhale, allow it to set. Find an apparent pause with your palms facing forward, heel toe your feet together. On an inhale, sweep your arms up over your head. Exhale, hinge into a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. Inhale in high plank, exhale low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog, and hold right here. So put your shoulders over your wrist, press the tops of your feet into the earth. If you're getting compression in your lower back, there's no reason you couldn't do this with your thighs or even your hips down on the earth, maybe with a more generous bend in your elbows. Or if you've got more space in your lower back, you could allow your pubic bone to just drape down toward the earth. Either way is right. It just depends on what your body wants. All right, from this upward facing dog, drop your hips down to the earth. Walk your hands forward until your shoulders are floating over your elbows, Sphinx pose. Ground down into your index, knuckle, and thumb. Press the shoelace parts of your feet into the earth. Drag your elbows back towards your waist. Soften your belly. Because fire is a tool, right? And it's an important tool. With fire, if we use it skillfully, this is metaphor, of course, but we can use it to warm our home. We can use it to cook our food. We can use it to heat and protect our family. But if it's out of control and we're not skillful with it, it can burn us. It can burn the people we love. It can burn our house down, right? It's a powerful, powerful tool. Walk your hands up under your shoulders. Press up into upward facing dog, any version. So this calls for stewardship. Stewardship is loving care. Because what our society wants us to do is to heap huge, huge piles of fuel together and to use like a bellows to artificially increase the flow of oxygen. So Dr. Brene Brown talks about this as primacy of work, right? Especially in our society, especially for men, but I see this in women too. Work comes first. Release your hips, your thighs down to the earth. Walk your hands forward, Sphinx pose. And Dr. Brown also talks about this looking like exhaustion as a status symbol. So I don't know what this looks like in other professions, but when I was a park superintendent, and I used to go to conferences where there were other park superintendents, a lot of the discussion was sort of commiserating about how tired we were, how much overtime we worked, right? Which sounds like we're sympathizing with each other, but what it often was people bragging about how they were working harder than other park managers, myself included, right? Which is ego-driven. Looking back, hindsight being 2020, a more fruitful and productive discussion is, how do we keep this from happening to anyone in my park ever again? Walk your hands under your shoulders, upward facing dog. We don't know what we don't know, right? And when we're supported by, when our employer is supporting these dysfunctional patterns and encouraging them, sometimes we have to burn the house down first before we learn the lesson. Lower your hips down to the earth, walk your hands forward, one last time, Sphinx pose. And then lower your heart all the way down to the earth. Bring your hands down by your waist, palms facing the sky. Rest either cheek on the mat. Shift your gaze back to neutral. Flip your palms down toward the earth. Lengthen your legs long behind you. And then on an inhale, draw your belly button toward your sternum. Feel your pubic bone root into the earth. Exhale, lift your chest, lift your thighs, Salabhasana, locust pose. Keep your gaze either directly under your head or maybe where the top edge of your mat meets your floor. But maintain length in your neck. Draw your shoulder blades together more. Flex your toes back towards your face. Find an action of drawing the legs together, even if they don't actually touch. Lift up any amount more. And slowly, deliberately, with control, lower down to the earth. Flip your palms toward the stars. Rest either cheek on the mat. Flip your palm, flip your palms down toward the earth. Shift your gaze back to neutral. Inhale, root your pubic bone into the earth. Scoop your belly button towards your sternum. Exhale, lift up into a second locust. Could be same arms. This time I'm going to interlace my hands behind my back. I'll press the heels of my hands together. I'll press my knuckles back toward my heels. Draw your shoulder blades together even more. Continue to breathe. We're breathing the whole time. Lift up any amount more. And then lower your heart down to the earth. Release your hands, palms face the sky. Rest either cheek on the mat. Continue to breathe. When we move on, we're going to move to floor bow. But that's just one option. You could do any version of locust, or you could stay right here in a belly shavasana as well. But I'll cue for floor bow. So bring your gaze back to neutral. Put a bend in your knees. Reach your hands out to the outside edges. Take a little grip on your ankles or the tops of your feet from the outside. Walk your knees back together. Inhale, scoop your belly button towards your sternum. And then as you exhale, start to kick your legs, kick your feet into your hands. Press your pubic bone down into the earth again. Draw your knees together again. And breathe. Lift up any amount higher. And then gently lower down. Leave your gaze neutral. Leave a bend in your knees. And then drop your ankles off from side to side. Windshield wiper your legs. Find some stillness with your legs. Lower your feet down to the earth. And bring your hands under your shoulders. However you want to get there, just use good body mechanics. Make your way onto your right side. Like a right forearm plank, floating your right shoulder over your right elbow. For now, left leg stacked long over your right. Then step your left leg forward past the left-hand edge of your mat. Start to collapse down into that right shoulder, even maybe folding your right ear down towards your right shoulder. Feel for space and length along the whole right side of your rib cage. My first job out of University of Maine, I got a job as a park naturalist and a volunteer coordinator at this little state park between Dallas and Tyler, Texas. And I was so excited. This was kind of job I'd always wanted. Really, it was a dream job. And I didn't just want to be good at this job, I wanted to be great at it. So I went into this job intent on doing anything that I needed to do to be successful. So I went in on my days off. I checked my email all the time. I was always doing these extra things. I didn't count all the time and the hours that I worked. And for a while it worked. The first year or so, like my employer was amazed. I was getting things done in the park that they told me they'd never done before. But then after about a year of that, I started getting really tired, like tired in a way I couldn't let go of. And I started feeling not gratitude for this dream job, but anger and resentment for the job and for the people that I work with, none of whom, by the way, asked me to do all these extra things. Or you can stay right here the whole time or slide your left hand down to the mat, just for enough support that you can slide your right forearm forward, come down onto your right shoulder. Use your left hand, grab a handful of ribs on your left rib cage, start to fold your left shoulder back down to the earth behind you. right? So I got tired, I got resentful, and I couldn't seem to rest up. I couldn't seem to make it better. And I didn't know what else to do, so I quit. I found another job. This one in East Texas in U.S. Forest Service, for U.S. Forest Service. It was a recreation area maintenance technician and a wilderness and trails technician. Just like honestly, it was the kind of job I'd always wanted to have. It was a dream job. I didn't just want to be good at it, I wanted to be great at it. So I went into this job intent on doing anything that I needed to do to be successful. So checked my email all the time, checked in on days off, did extra things, didn't count all the time I worked, right? Just like the first job. Amazing results for about a year and a half. Right? Bring your left hand back to your left rib cage if you chose to lengthen it long. Lift your left shoulder up, float it over your right. Step your left leg back. Now put a bend in your knees. Take your right hand to the center of your left rib cage. Bring your right hand to the base of your skull, or your left hand to the base of your skull, so your left elbow points up toward the stars. On an inhale breath, draw your belly button towards your spine. Exhale, lift your left elbow as high as you can, and then pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay lifted. Inhale, draw your belly button to your spine. Exhale, pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Lower down to the mat. Use good body mechanics. Make your way onto your back, and on your trip, grab a block. And when you get to your back, place the soles of your feet on the earth with a generous bend in your knees. Place the block in between your inner thighs as close as you can to your pubic bone. And then use your thighs. Squeeze the block. Interlace both hands at the base of your skull so your elbows point up toward the stars. Inhale, squeeze your block. Draw your belly button to your spine. Exhale, lift your head, neck, and shoulders as high as you can. And each time we pulse up, I'd like you to exhale. We'll pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay lifted. Inhale. Draw your belly button to your spine. Squeeze the pudding out of that block. Exhale. Pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Lower all the way down. Drop your block. Using good body mechanics, make your way onto your left side. And let's do these oblique crunches first. We'll finish the core workout first before the side body stretch. So put a generous bend in your knees. Bring your left hand to the center of your right rib cage. Bring your right hand to the base of your skull so your right elbow points up toward the stars. Inhale, squeeze your belly button in towards your spine. Exhale, lift your right elbow as high up as you can. Pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay lifted. Inhale, draw your belly button to your spine. Exhale, pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Lower all the way down. Straighten your legs. Find that left forearm plank. Step your right foot forward past the right hand edge of your mat. Start slumping down into your left shoulder. So that pattern of take a job that I was super passionate about, pour my soul into the job, and then burn out and not have any other tool in my toolkit other than to quit. I did that for literally 6 jobs. right? Sometimes the quitting looked like taking a promotion for another job in my agency, but I left that job. But I did this for 6 jobs, and I finally, like, what I thought I figured out is not the individual job, so it must be the career, right? It can't be me. It can't be the way that I'm approaching this. It must be the career. So I took a risk and I talked to my boss and said, hey, I'm resigning, but I'm going to be here for 18 months. So I'm going to leave after 18 months. It's risky. Not every supervisor is going to tolerate that, but this one would. You can stay right here, or right hand down to your mat, lift up, slide your left forearm forward, come onto your left shoulder. Right hand grabs a handful of ribs on your right rib cage. Fold your right shoulder back behind you. And I started pulling back. I started taking off more of the time that I earned. So, for example, I took off every Tuesday afternoon for like 4 months. And I sunbathed in the backyard and did reading for this correspondence course to become a certified nutrition coach. And I love nutrition, right? So I was creating more space in my life, but I was also feeding my passion. I worked almost every night, holiday, and weekend for 20 years, right? But I started taking some weekends off so I could do a yoga teacher training. Told my team, you guys are going to have to cover for this. They were, by the way, they were happy to do that, happy to support me. So I'm feeding my passions. I'm doing these other things that I have interest in. I'm working less, taking off time that it's not like extra time, it's time that I've earned. And I started to notice that like the job started to be fun again. And the things that I loved about the job the first few months that I was there, I was starting to be able to at least see what those things were again. If you lengthen your right arm long, take a handful of ribs on your right rib cage, lift your right shoulder up over your left, step your right leg long behind you, make your way onto your back, almost a bridge setup, but with the left leg out wide, like full mat width apart, keep your arms out to the side, hook the pinky edge blade of your right foot on the outside of your left thigh, drop both knees off to your right. And if you wanted to add more twist, one option is to shift your gaze out over the fingers of your left hand. But it took, like I started to figure out that I was going to be able to live with this job and enjoy it more if I just didn't try to pour so much into it, right? If I left some of my best parts of myself for the other parts of my life. But not being a good steward of my inner fire, it caused some problems. I burned myself out over and over again. I burned the people in my life. So my marriage, we certainly, my ex-wife and I certainly had other things going on. But part of my contribution, not all, but part of my contribution to our problems was not being a good steward of that internal flame and demonstrating over and over and over again that the job was more important to me than she was. So this is, we don't know what we don't know. We learn these things as we go and we learn from our mistakes. Draw your knees back up the center. Release the sole of your right foot down to the earth. Release it out nice and wide. Hook the pinky edge blade of your left foot on the outside of your right thigh. Drop both knees over to your left. Maybe shift your gaze out over the fingers of your right hand. Right, but once we figure these things out, then it becomes, how do we make sure that we're not replicating these mistakes that we're learning from the pattern? And that now the fire break means like the bare mineral soil around the brush pile might look like me not taking phone calls at times when it doesn't make sense for me, for my family, and my personal life. Having a shovel and a water hose, maybe making sure that I'm doing some things that are fun, that are just for fun. Or it might look like saying no to opportunities that I could do skillfully or might be good money, but don't fulfill me. And having other fuel nearby might mean operating a way where I have a reasonable business plan so that I can have an income where I'm creating a positive impact in the world, but it's sustainable And there's still going to be work for me tomorrow and a year from now. Draw your knees back up the center. Release your left foot down to the earth. Find a happy baby pose. Any happy baby. My baby's happier with my lower back on a block and with my peace fingers wrapped around my big toe. But that's my baby. Your baby may need things that are very different from that. So we live and we learn, we rub ourselves up against life, and inevitably we make mistakes. That's part of the intention. That's part of our path here. We're not supposed to be here to get it perfect. But as we learn these lessons, what do we do with that? And that's what I'm interested in my life. What do I do with this lesson that I've learned about an imbalance in my solar plexus chakra? Well, I try to balance it out and make sure that some of the best parts of me are saved for the people and the practices in my life that are most important. Release your feet down to the earth. Make your way into any resting shape. Could be on your seat, your belly, your back, or your side, as long as you can relax, balancing relaxation and alertness. But draw some deeper breaths. Bigger inhales into your belly and your chest, and more full and complete exhales. And then only if your body might be interested in movement, start to reanimate your body with small movements, maybe starting with the digits, wiggling your fingers or your toes. And if that movement's pleasing, you start to go bigger at any time, rotating your hands at the wrists, your feet at the ankles, maybe taking a full body stretch. And you always have the option to close out the practice in your final resting shape. But if you're not going to close out in your final resting shape and you're so inclined, make your way into either side. Take a few breaths, just check in, notice how you're feeling. You don't have to do anything with that information. I just would like for you to notice it. And then press yourself up into any seated position, any soft eyes. So either gently closed or open with a soft gaze, anything you like with your hands. Thank you, friend, for the opportunity once again to serve you in this way. May your inner flame burn brightly and sustainably. Draw your thumbs to your Ajna chakra, the space between your eyebrows. Blessings to you and your family. And that concludes our practice for tonight. Friends, thank you so much for joining us for our Stability Meets Mobility Manipura Chakra sequence. You're doing great. Keep going.